Hi, this is Naroki5. I am going to be doing this until I die or I find something better to do. So please help me achieve this personal and, I think, noble objective by contributing to my Patreon or Subscribe Star. Link is down below. Every little bit helps. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. This is the Red Pill Nation Hangout number 333. It's just myself and Rearson tonight. Started a little bit later than we normally start, mostly because, Rearson needed to wipe off this greasy slickness because once again he couldn't resist putting on that goddamn gimp suit again. And he put on an alien suit on top of that. So it's like, yeah, no, he was especially slick and slimy and he needed to go wash himself off. But yeah, since I actually mentioned, Rearson, introduce yourself.
While I was furiously applying the extra strength, industrial strength, Orange Man hand bomb and joint muscle pain because I was in one of those moods.
And that reminds me of our commercial sponsor. Yes, or are you still not over 2016? Do you tweet incessantly, and I do mean incessantly, about Donald Trump? That you actually have to start even think about him even when you're going to the bathroom to pleasure yourself, and you have to do it so often that you're starting to get chafing and blisters and all sorts of other undisclosed stuff. Well, we have the thing for you. Yes, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. No more cherry blisters, no more skin chafing. Yes, you can go to the bathroom and touch yourself as often as you would like to and never have to worry about it. That's right, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm. And new from Orange Man Bad Hand products, Orange Man Bad Joint and Muscle. Yes, that's right. Orange Man Bad Joint and Muscle. For all those times when you've gone to the bathroom so much over Donald Trump that you have undisclosed causes of carpal tunnel, aches in your elbow, aches in your shoulder. Yes, that's right. Orange Man Joint and Muscle. And our newest product, Orange Man Bad Lip Balm. So you could sucky your favorite politician and not have to worry about chapped lips afterwards. That's right. So the new whole Orange Man Bad medical products, Orange Man Bad Hand Balm, Orange Man Bad Joint and Muscle, and Orange Man Bad Lip Balm. At stores everywhere as soon as the product actually becomes a real thing. And now back to the show.
But wait, there's more. We not only have industrial size, family size, industrial strength, with the purple dildo applicator.
Oh, yes, the JP Purple Poker. That's right. Named after a certain individual. I can't remember. Oh, the JM Purple Poker. Yes, that's right. The JM Purple Poker. Named after a very particular hypocritic individual whose names were JM, who used to be a member of the Manosphere, but decided that he was so manly that he was going to let his wife fuck other people in front of him and be happy about it, and be so happy about it that he was going to actually post it. Now, I'm not a big fan of Charlie 22, but at least Charlie 22 admits openly about what he's doing. But the JM Purple Poker, that's right, because it's purple, because that's the color that JM likes. That's right, the JM Purple Poker. And don't forget, if you call in now and scream out loudly, Orange Man Bad, you can get a free Rob Reiner.
Okay, all right, Norky. Obviously, the marketing department didn't get through to you because we now have a new online discount code of 69%.
Oh, yeah.
And what you need to type in is suck to blow. And after
Yep.
all of that, back to you, my friend.
So we have the new celebrity Rob Reiner, Mark Hamill, and Stephen King versions of Orange Man Bad Handball because these three just cannot stop posting about the guy. In fact, Mark Hamill is so brave that he actually posted it on against a 3-year-old. But I digress. That's right. So don't forget all about that stuff. And we will have more Met products as we go along tonight. So yeah, as for those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as the Red Pill Nation, or sorry, as Naroki 5. I'm subscribed star as the Red Pill Nation. I am at Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Brighteon. I do have a YouTube channel, which will be down in the low bar, but not on YouTube, of course. If you want to subscribe there, go ahead. But I don't share anything there. I just post it up for ease of posting elsewhere. MGTOW TV, Facebook. Still haven't gotten the Twitter account started up again, although I might have to. Facebook, MeWe, Minds, Gab, Getter, TLB Talks, and communities.win. Yeah, I keep saying I'm gonna get this stuff posted up to Skype in iTunes and so on and so forth, but some reason I just never seem to get around to it. It will happen at some point. I'm not gonna put a hard date on it though, because I got a lot of other things going on in my life. So the topics tonight, this one's kind of interesting. Topic number 1: Mike Babcock forced to resign as head coach of Columbus Blue Jackets over photo sharing. 2: MSM attempting to target Russell Brand with fake Me Too accusations. Tim Ballard from Sound of Freedom also facing accusations. That was actually going to be a 2-week one, I think. Topic number 3: trucker convoy trials turning into a joke. Canadian government also trying to sneak in mask mandates. Topic number 4: Great Britain introduces Online Safety Act. Topic number 5: Google now facing lawsuit for hiding its competitors. And 6: Has Russia already won the war with Ukraine? If anybody else jumps in tonight, the topics are in the chat. But let's get this party started. So Rearson is not a hockey guy, and no, he's not a hockey guy at all. I am a hockey guy, though, and this is one of those stories that just got totally blown out of proportion because sometimes sports reporters just get bored and they just make a story. They make a story out of nothing. Mike Babcock, one of the coaches on some of the Team Canada teams that have won gold medals in the past, former coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I believe he's coached elsewhere, has recently taken over from, of course, John Tortorella from Columbus, because Tortorella just cannot seem to hold on to a job to save his life. Babcock had what seemed to be I wouldn't have viewed it as such I probably would have talked about it with some other players, other people before I decided to do it. What Mike Babcock decided to do is that he asked some of his players to share family. He wasn't asking for the wife of his players' nudes or anything like that, but he asked to look at the private photos of everybody on their phone, and he was just I think he wanted to think this was sort of to hit in his mind. I thought this was a team building idea. The only problem is that I think the way he went about doing it made some of the players and some of the coaches uncomfortable, and I think maybe he rubbed the wrong person the wrong way, and he went to the sports media, and the sports media just blew it up into something much, much bigger than what it needed to be, and the story wouldn't go away. because sports reporters sometimes you get a slow period, but again, September's not really slow in terms of sports. It just kept going and going and going, and eventually it got to the NHL head office, and they started asking questions, and they started putting pressure on the Columbus Blue Jackets ownership and all of the other players, and it built up friction between himself and his players, to the point where Mike Babcock was pretty much forced to resign as head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, to me, this is a non-story. I have kind of like a pretty good idea about what Mike Babcock was trying to do. He was just thinking, like family photos and that sort of thing. The way he asked the questions, and he maybe asked for photos that were maybe a little, he wasn't directly, he one of the players or something like that misinterpreted what he was saying, and that he was asking for like really personal photos. And no, I think he was probably just asking for like family photos or something like that. Gonna make a collage, a team building exercise is what it appears to be to me. That is not how this is, although it's not the worst example of cancel culture. And it's definitely not as bad as what happened in Chicago last year with the Blackhawks. Mike Babcock just kind of probably just went about it the wrong way. And the press just didn't want to hear it because they were looking for a story. So, they just kind of ran with it. And of course, when it comes to the press, like sometimes the press is not concerned with what you meant or what you intended versus what they perceived as happening. And everybody gave into the, and again, right, this is cancel culture. Everybody just gave into the media pressure and didn't bother to ask the right questions. And it got to the point where Mike Babcock just was like pretty much forced to resign as head coach. Now, I'm sure that this could have been solved internally with the team. The team would just basically, they would have had a team meeting. The players would have asked what he actually meant. Mike Babcock would have made himself clear. There probably would have been a couple of the people in the room. They would have cleared it up, and that would have been the end of it. But no. The media had to get involved and turn it into a huge melodramatic story. Ended up being a cancel culture kind of moment. This is something that I think a lot of people are, if you're wondering sometimes why I keep my face in it's easy enough to find out my name. Trying to find out like deeper information about me, and you can more or less, if you go through my stuff, you can pretty much more or less figure out which city I live in, because I talk about that all the time. And you might even be able to figure out which neighborhood I live in the city that I live in. But if you want to, deeper information is a lot harder to come by. And, I think maybe Mike Babcock said it wrong, but again, right, this is another example of a non-story where somebody took something that someone said out of proportion and just kept pushing it. Either somebody had an agenda. This is either thing. Either the press was bored or somebody had an agenda around Mike Babcock. That's really all the reason I can think of it. Because this story should have been just a little bit of a speed bump. It could have been resolved with a quick team meeting. But it just kept going, which kind of suggests that there might have been an agenda there. But anyway, like I've talked myself out about this, so I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
I don't have anything to say. I don't have anything about this in terms of the coach, because he's obviously not getting his moment to to talk about it with whoever will listen, which evidently seems to be nobody. And this is why that I generally do not care for, and I certainly don't trust the media anymore. It's unfortunate, but again, I mean, I think it was Winston Churchill that said, by the time that the truth gets out of bed, the lie has.
The truth is halfway around. Sorry, I'll just the truth is halfway around the world.
No,
the lie is halfway around the world before the truth actually has time to get its pants on. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have very little use for the press to begin with, because I don't trust the fuckers. I'm sorry, but I just absolutely don't. And I mean, at the end of it all, it's great, but that they do what they do. But I mean, there's a reason why they're also unofficially called the prostitutes. And as is the case, I believe, with human nature, is who's going to be the first to report on it, or who's going to be able to be the first to get the big story on it. So I don't know. With this, I don't know what he's going to be like towards the press in the future for journalism. And this is not journalism. This is just fucking who can scream the loudest. Like, no one's done their job. No one actually took a look into it or wants to see what's going on. And that's only because, well, I mean, it's no different than, well, I mean, this really is a case of clickbait. I wish it wasn't, but it is. So, until we have people that can actually have a true sense of integrity, and there's not many people. I wish I had better integrity, but I don't, and I'm working on it. But integrity, the definition is to do the right thing even when no one's looking. And when it comes to eyes on the prize, shall we say, of the clicks, there are a lot of outlets that will run with it first before doing the right thing to make sure that it's actually what it's supposed to do their actual job, which is to investigate. So, I hope that Columbus tanks as a club this year for the hockey season for it. But again, as you said, I'm not a hockey person, so I don't have any more to say on this one, my friend. So let's go on.
Okay, resume what I did is I moved 3 and 4 around because 2 and 3 are kind of tied together. So number 3 is Britain introduces Online Safety Act, and 4 is now going to be the trucker convoy. Also, and I forgot to mention this at the start, I would like to send out my deepest, sincere, and most sincere condolences and sympathies to Kira TV.
Run with it.
Because I just you Kira TV, you decided to do a really badly researched 24. You have 4. By the way, this dude has 437,000 subs. You decided, and he has 124,000 hits on this particular video. You decided to do a really badly researched run on the Manosphere, and with so many holes in it that you could drive a super tanker through. And when I posted up a rather long comment, which is actually in the chat if Thurston wants to go take a look at it, his result was to brush it off when I told him, it's like, yeah, well, dude, I'm going to be letting everybody know what you did because you're not small potatoes and you chose to take a run at the manosphere, right? So just letting you know, you're gonna get responded to, and you're gonna get hit back, and you're gonna get massacred. And it's like, just letting you know, dude, you're not a hero, you're not a victim, and the people who are responding to you are not crybabies. You chose to do this. And his response was to shadow ban me on YouTube and block me on Twitter. But I mean, it's like, yeah, as we all know, that really worked out quite well with Hunter Avalon and a few other people who have tried to take runs at the manosphere. It's not going to work out very well for you, Kira, when this gets around. And make no mistake about it, I am going to be making sure this gets around because you know what? You chose to do this. So yeah, my sympathies and condolences, dude. You don't get to play the victim. You don't get to be the hero in this. And regardless of whether you block me or not, you're still gonna have to own up to what you did, right? So yeah, best of luck to you, Kira. I can absolutely assure you that everybody is going to know. Expect blowback. That's what happens when you try to take on the manosphere. And with that, let's get on to and this one is actually broken down into two different topics. But the first one is, well, it started out, I first found out about Russell Brand first, and then I found out about Tim Ballard second. And I will start out with what happened with Russell Brand. This is actually becoming a little bit fucking tiresome, pardon the language, when it comes to this sort of thing. Yeah, Russell Brand got 2 anonymous accusations leveled at him because Russell Brand, well, actually, he was married to Katy Perry for a while. Bit of a hedonist, definitely slept around, definitely a bit of a womanizer. He had 2 women from 20 years ago come up with stories. And of course, Russell Brand, a guy, by the way, who I don't really think, if he slept with that many women, he probably had some skill with women. He wouldn't, I mean, it's been my experience that guys that have this ability to just sleep with women naturally don't have to fucking rape people. They don't, unless their identity is somehow tied into how many women they can sleep with. And I don't know for sure. Russell Brand answered these 2 accusations, only to have 2 more resurface anonymously, of course. Russell Brand vehemently denies it, and he actually responded in kind. And he also, like I said, of course, they were brought up anonymously. There is no criminal charges, no investigation, like nothing of the sort. And we will be covering this in 334, but that didn't stop YouTube and Facebook and Instagram from deleting his profiles at the request of the British government. Now, we will get back to that in a second. All I'm going to tell you about that particular part right now is that, and Twitter as well, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook complied. Twitter didn't bother sending a response. Rumble's response was to tell the British government to go pound sand. Now, keep in mind, this is the same British government that was elected under Boris Johnson, although Boris Johnson is no longer the prime minister. And this letter to Rumble, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter was sent by the British government on anonymous accusations. So they have directly intervened in a prosecution, which is against the law. Again, I'm not going to go too much further into it. That is where it stood as of this week. What is happening, though, is and the other thing that occurred this week is that after basically, and of course, all of the other alt tech channels obviously said, well, no, we're not gonna ban them. What this ended up being, though, is a pivot towards an attack on Rumble. Now, it's fairly obvious that this is politically motivated at this point. All of a sudden, everyone just kind of forgot about Rumble, and now all of a sudden the mainstream media is suddenly attacking Rumble incessantly, which we will get into next week. Now, what happened with Tim Ballard is that Tim Ballard started a charity. He's I didn't know he was Mormon, but it makes sense considering some of the stuff that I do know about Tim Ballard. He also happens to have the same last name as the current head, I believe, the current head of the Mormon Church based out of Salt Lake City. You got to keep in mind here, though, that this particular and when it comes out of a publication like Vice, you immediately have to go, yeah, this came from Vice. You need to consider the source of this. So,
okay. Sorry, I just want to step in here very quickly. So we're talking about Vice.
Yeah, we're talking about Vice when it comes to Tim Ballard.
So Vice, the same Vice that's been bought by George Soros?
Yes, that Vice.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Go ahead.
Yep, and that should be duly pointed out. Vice, and I remember Vice when it first came out, because Vice first came out as a magazine. We were living in Banff, both of us, when it first came out. And it was really edgy, and it was willing to.
But that's when Gavin McInnes was also part of it and leading the charge on the organization, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So, obviously it's not that anymore. They almost went bankrupt until George Soros. And I think part of the reason why George Soros bought Vice was to let some of the other go broke companies that seem to be headed, just like the way Bill Gates bought Budweiser, right? Just to let some of these go broke companies say, oh yeah, you can continue doing this. We're gonna be there. We'll bail you out, etc., right? And it's like, so yeah, the way they worded the article is that they took stuff that Tim Ballard said, and they took it out of context, and they also took the fact that
Shocker.
Just like I mean, Tim Ballard to a couple of his female employees, you have to be able to be willing to do what it takes to deal with these people, and that got likely intentionally misconstrued by them. And of course, I'm not sure if these were actually people. I think one of them actually did come up publicly, but I mean, it's like, the stuff was taken likely out of context. Now, did Tim Ballard do it? Again, here's the issue with both of these people. It doesn't matter. Same thing that happened with Tate. It doesn't matter whether he's innocent or guilty or not, right? The accusation will always be out there now, right? Like that mark will be on. And that's exactly what they were doing. The problem with the issue with Tim Ballard, though, is that, like when, and this is something that I pointed up before, since when is it that, like, not fucking children became a partisan political issue. Like, why does Vice have such an issue with somebody who is against something like this?
Well, okay, if I may step in.
Go ahead.
My
Yeah.
apologies for stepping in here. Is it a political issue? Yeah, it is a political issue because, in high probability, the political elite are well involved with all of that. I can't prove it right now, but I'm going to wait for someone else for that to be uncovered, because it's only a matter of time, and especially the way that things are moving in a conspiracy theory kind of way. But that's just what I see. I could be wrong, but I know I'm not. I just have to. I have to wait for things like this to start to come out, and for people like my father to wake up, if he ever does.
Oh no, I've stopped trying to wake up the sheep. I'm tired of waking up the lambs. I'm more concerned with waking up the lions at this point.
Yep.
The whole thing with this is that, I mean, and of course it didn't go anywhere because, except of course with the usual woke outlets, because it's Vice, right? Like George Soros had looked at it and decided, yeah, I'm willing to lose hundreds of millions of dollars to keep this operation going, right? Like, I mean, George Soros was willing to take the hit to keep this operation going because he needed a propaganda tool, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, this just gives you an idea of how little influence Vice has, that outside of the usual woke publications, nobody else, even in the mainstream media, more or less, didn't run with this. Now, Russell Brand was a different situation. It's starting to become, and again, we will be covering more of this next week. It's becoming very obvious that this was not an attempt. Russell Brand was just the vehicle around which they were going to go after. This is an attempt by the establishment to try to get Rumble to toe the line. Here's the situation, though, where Rumble started. They took cancel culture and they took online advertisers into account when they started Rumble. So the amount of damage they can do, as opposed to, say, what they could do with YouTube and so forth, I mean, it's much less, because same thing with Odyssey and BitChute, right? Like, those operations were set up in a way to specifically prevent cancel. So, I mean, all of the stuff that might have worked, say, on YouTube and Facebook, and now it doesn't work on Twitter any longer, but I mean, it used to work on the old regime at Twitter, doesn't work with Rumble, right? Because Rumble took, and the CEO of Rumble was put on the spot about this repeatedly when he started the operation. It's like, are you going to cave into cancel culture? Are you going to cave into this? Because they're going to come for you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what they're trying to do, right? And when I get to topic number 5, I'll bring this up even more, right? Because what's happened is that Rumble, Odyssey is not that far behind, by the way. Odyssey will probably emerge as a legit platform as well here, probably in the next year or two as well. Rumble has emerged as a legit platform, right? Okay. The very fact that the British government would send this letter off to Rumble and then threaten legal action if they didn't do it, which is what they did. Oh, and here's another part, and we will be covering more of this on 334. They actually also issued a public letter from the information office saying, quote unquote, if you cover the Russell Brand story, you will be, or attempt to interfere, will be considered covering the Russell Brand story will be considered an attempt to interfere within a criminal investigation. Here's the thing: there is no criminal investigation of Russell Brand at the moment.
So they've overstepped themselves.
Yeah. And of course, they tried to do this with Tommy Robinson as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're not allowed to talk about Tommy Robinson in Britain. Well, okay, fine. We'll just ship all of this stuff overseas, and the pressure will come external. So they didn't learn. Keep in mind, this was Theresa May's regime,
Yeah.
and they didn't learn their lesson, right? So they got rid of Boris Johnson, who was a bit of a globalist anyway, and now the conservative elects in Britain are now back to basically doing business as usual. And they're going to find out the hard way again. It's like, yeah, go ahead, threaten all the people out there with criminal prosecution for covering what's going on with Russell Brand. It's not going to work, even if you threaten all of the people internally. Guess what, right? YouTube's not going to catch everybody. There's still Odyssey. There's still BitChute. There's still Spotify. Oh, by the way, Spotify also chose not to remove Russell Brand stuff, as did iTunes. Okay. There's still going to be Spotify. There's still going to be iTunes. So you know what? Like, you cannot control the information on this. Tim Ballard just kind of silently went thud. Russell Brand is looking like it's a bit of a vehicle. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I mean, if this is what, okay, sorry, let me take this. Let me start over a bit here in my thought process here. I mean, Brand has been pushing a lot of the scamdemic and everything. He's becoming a truther in a sense. I don't consider him to be one per se, but he's certainly talking about things of what's kind of going on behind the curtain. And now that I think about it, because he's an insider, because he's been with Katy Perry, and oh my God, there was that one Super Bowl that she was in. I mean, she looked like, fuck. She looked like it was a page taken right out of the strength card of the tarot deck, but of the Crowley tarot deck, because the line that she was on was gold, and on that card, it was rather strong in orange, metallic orange coloring, shall we say, or the hint of it. So he's been on the inside. He's been in with all of that, and now he's, in a sense, is exposing it. So I'm of the opinion that they're scared to death of this guy because he's got more and more shit to say. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, this really comes down to it being is that you or I could have someone from our past 20 fucking years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, we could be in a fucking retirement home or we're close to retiring or whatever, we've established a name for ourselves in one form or another. And oh, look at that, rookie pissed off. Someone we'll just trump up these charges on him or trump up these allegations on him. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but is the process not supposed to be innocent until proven guilty? Seems to be with these companies that pulled sponsorship, Burger King, and I can't fucking remember who else, from Rumble, that obviously it's obviously not innocent until proven guilty. You're guilty until you're proven innocent. I mean, we've seen that with the Court of Public Opinion with Kavanaugh, Johnny Depp, and then that turned around pretty quickly once things were starting to be exposed with how batshit crazy that woman is. Won't mention her name anymore. So for me, this really is no different than this seems to be quite typical of the tactics of not necessarily the left, and I'm not going to say the left in this example because at the end of the day, the political left and the political right they've got the same puppet master. As the saying goes, I mean, you got the red wing and you got the blue wing on the bird, but it's still making the bird fly. So, and the bird's going to fly in whatever direction it wants. And if it leans left and one for a certain period of time, then it's going to be, going off in that direction. And then it's going to change its mind and it goes off to the right. I mean, with the likes of Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell in the U.S. Senate, who are absolutely fucking useless. Or, Congressman, he was the war veteran, he lost his eye. Crenshaw. Or you have someone like Dan Crenshaw, who's, just like, the Trudeau government and the penetration that I've done with him and his cabinet. Or Jagmeet Singh, for that matter. I mean, if Brand, with his humor and his name, is able to bring more exposure to what's going on, they don't want that. And this right now is going to be the method they're going to attempt to shut him up. So at this point right now, the guy's got a fight on his hands. And while I don't like him per se, I do support what he's going to have to be going through. I've never really cared for him before. I've watched some of his programs or some of his podcasts. And he makes his points, but he's not personally on my radar. That's all that I'm going to say. This is going to get worse before it's going to get better. And if they're going to do it to Brand, guess what, folks? They can do it to you. And on that note, my friend, back to you. Once you're done typing, of course.
Yeah, I actually found Joker's. I actually found a place I can
message him.
Message Joker.
Oh, cool.
And there we go. And I'm hearing an echo in the background.
Okay, not sure if that's me or not.
That's probably you. Okay, well, I'm done with that. So anyway, yeah, the whole thing with Russell Brand. I mean, yeah, if you wanted to start putting political motives on this, what this is, and I could potentially move. I could probably switch up 4 and 5, to be honest with you.
Up to you.
I mean, I might just do that actually, because they kind of 2, 3, and 5 all kind of tie together. I might just do that. The way it's working, the way it appears to be working is that they're again, and when I get to the Google section, I will explain to you what is going on here. Is that the whole thing with this is that they cannot win with the current political situation being the way it is, right? They don't have control over, like, the alt media. The very fact that the British government felt necessary to throw in Rumble along with YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram and Twitter, that's a de facto admission on their part that that's basically a de facto admission on their part that they consider Rumble as a mainstream publication. Yeah, I did switch 4 and 5 around. So 4 is now Google is facing a lawsuit for hiding its competitors, and 5, Trucker Convoy but yeah, like this is, and we'll get more into this on the next show. But yeah, this is an attempt to try to get some of the alt media platforms to try to toe the line, which isn't going to work because, again, Odyssey, Rumble, BitChute, Getter, now Twitter. I mean, those platforms. I mean, Elon Musk had to go in and do another purge this week. So it's proof that Yacarino is not entirely calling the shots over there. The fact that they're trying to do this now is basically an attempt to try to control the media the same way they did in 2020, and they're not able to do it anymore. They did this to themselves. You know, Rumble and Odyssey and BitChute got as big as they got over the past 4 years because the government tried to basically violate the First Amendment and tried to control the narrative, and it's not working anymore, right? Russell Brand's probably not going to get canceled. Andrew Tate is likely not going to end up in jail because now Tate pretty much knows what he's dealing with, and he has a fairly good idea what the evidence was, which is why they finally had to end up releasing him. So yeah, it's all just falling apart. And that's really all I got to say about this one. So let's move on. And 2, 3, and 4 are all kind of tied together. And yeah, the topic order has changed a little bit. Topic number 3 is the Online Safety Act, which, by the way, is coming to Canada. And one of the reasons why Trudeau is not going to be stepping down. Britain, though, is the test case. And again, I'm going to point this out. This is under the same regime that Boris Johnson's not the prime minister anymore, but it's becoming very clear that the British government is back to being business as usual. The Conservatives there. So there's not a single party in Britain that Brits can rely on. And this time they don't even necessarily have allies in the EU to which they're accountable to, because Britain's not part of the EU anymore. So Britain, here's the way, and by the way, from all accounts, the Online Safety Act is deliberately and intentionally written. And this is a very common tactic with totalitarian dictatorships and totalitarian rules. The laws are written so vaguely that they can be interpreted in a way that allows the government to do things that they wouldn't normally do, and they can just look at the law and say, "Oh no, it's all perfectly legal." I'm going to point out something to you, and I don't bring up Goddard's law very often, but I have to bring it up here. Everything that the Nazis did when they were in power was considered legal, and that thump is actually very appropriately timed.
Okay, how so?
Well, I mean, it's like, yeah, this bill, which is coming to Canada, by the way, it's written so vaguely that, misinformation can basically be interpreted as anything that doesn't agree with what the state dictates is proper information or not. Anything that questions the narrative, just like how, and we've covered this on the show, just like Trudeau has tried to clandestinely fund intelligence operations in Canada that target parents that do I have that for 334? We might have to add that as a topic.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Let me just take a look here. I believe I've got 334 on here because we may have to add that as a topic. Hold on a second.
Okay.
The Million Person March.
Oh, yes. I don't want to participate with that, but I just keep forgetting about looking into it.
Yeah, no, I forgot to add that. So yeah, we're going to have 7 topics this week on this show. Yeah, no, the Million Person March. I totally forgot about that. All right. Hold on. Did I add it? I added Nazi Gate.
Fuck.
Yeah, no, I we'll have to add I'll have to add that as topic number 7. My apologies, folks. There's I don't know why I totally forgot about that. But I mean, yeah, so things like the 1,000,000-person march in Canada took place. And we will get into all the details about that one. And I'm going to put them on different weeks because I've already got 7 topics for 334.
All right.
Oh, what the heck? Hold on. So yeah, we now got a 7th topic. All right, hold on a second here. Yeah, I'm adding it in. So yeah, the whole issue here with so Trudeau basically has clandestinely funded intelligence operations which target parents that protest this trans agenda that's trying to enter schools. That also can be interpreted now as misinformation. So yeah, this is coming to Canada. This is the reason why Trudeau is going to and I'm not just going to just say this about. I mean, again, like Britain. I don't know what they're going to do in Britain. Britain is that like I mean, it just seems like it's like a race to the bottom. Just when you think first it was New Zealand, then it's Canada. Now Britain seems to have passed everybody on the race to the bottom of the Five Eyes.
Sorry.
You know, yeah, no, I mean, there's not a single party in Britain that is devoted to the actual, I mean, on paper, that's what the Labour Party is supposed to do, but they're corrupt beyond all measure. Don't look at the actual Liberals because they're the equivalent of the NDP in Canada. And the Conservatives, they've all, to quote source, they've gone all rhino again, right? So there's not a single party in Britain that's actually looking out for the rights of the citizenry at this point. And I got to point out the Conservatives in Britain have a massive majority. Although they won't have nearly as strong a majority later on. So yeah, and this particular Online Safety Act is going to be adopted first by the Commonwealth countries, so Canada, Australia, New Zealand, possibly South Africa, right? But it's going to spread. Absolutely, Trudeau's going to do it. And again, when we specifically talk about Canada, this is the reason why Trudeau is going to hang on, and he's going to have. And I have to also point this out, right? Because yeah, we're Canadians, and we have to make the situation about us. The Jagmeet Singh has been quite happy to go along with this, like all of it. So, like, I think it has to. I think. At least unlike the Republicans, which again we'll be talking about the Republicans in 334, the Conservatives, that don't seem to be quite cluing into the fact that it's probably not a good idea to be attacking the manosphere, right? At least Pierre Poilievre has got enough brains not to do that. I mean, I don't necessarily know whether he's going to be a politics as usual guy, but at least he has enough brains not to do that. But again, right? This act is written in such a way that it can be interpreted to go after political opposition, to press and media that are against what the government is doing. That's what this Online Safety Act is doing. This is a flagrant and vagrant attempt to silence the opposition, and it's coming to a Five Eyes country near you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rearson.
I think it was Dr. Dave Janda that was pointing out, for me to listen at least anyway, and I'm sure Alex Jones had mentioned it as well too, but I've written that man off now long enough time ago. But Janda had basically said that the name or what they're going to peg as the Affordability Healthcare Act or the Affordability Act or Child Safety Act. I don't think that there's one per se that's been like that, but I'm just going to throw that out as a name, or the Human Decency Act or a Human Trafficking Act or whatever. It is that what they're saying is what it is, and most people don't look that deep into it to see or to confirm what they say to what, what it actually is are two different things. The Alien Safety Act or whatever the British are calling it, it's just going to be a clampdown of more regulated hate speech, more approved censorship, more approved government oversight and overreach. And again, there's a reason why that I don't want to live in this country anymore. And I realize I can't really go very far. The only place I can really go to is the States. And again, there at least for now, I would have the ability to be able to defend myself if need be. And hopefully not, but if need be. And yes, you're absolutely right. What usually happens in one Commonwealth country or happens south of the border is typically a green light for other countries to implement that decision, that legislation, whatever the case may be. Which to some degree I agree with, but other times not really. It's just, I don't know. A lot of these things don't feel right, and I'll kind of leave it at that for now. What I can expect to see going forward with all of that, it's not going to be pretty. I can guarantee you that right now. It will not be pretty. And with someone like Vinny Eastwood, who's right now fighting for his life, I fully believe that in the end he will win. It's just going to require a lot of work, and it will be people like him or whoever will be, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but they just passed that bill in Britain like last week, if I remember correctly. Okay?
Yeah, they did. Sorry, I was typing, so I muted myself.
Yeah. Okay. So they just passed that bill last week, and I believe this is going to be this might be a topic of discussion. But there was a guy in Britain that was sharing information that Trudeau had cocaine on his fucking plane, and he was delayed from leaving the G20 in India. So it's apparently it's already come into effect that they're going after one person already in shall we say in Hope Media who's not towing the line.
So yeah, that whole thing, apparently the unofficial scuttlebutt on that is that Trudeau was so high that he would have been he already had embarrassed himself at India. But I mean, he couldn't attend that G20 summit because apparently he was so high from the fucking cocaine on his plane that he
missed dinner.
He missed the dinner, and he would have been an embarrassment if he had shown up.
Not that he already isn't, but we'll leave that alone. Fuck. No, I mean, it's just, I don't know what to say. But yeah, like I said, though, this bill has already snagged its first victim. That's going to have to fight for his life. So, again, the only thing that I can hope is that what I believe to be true, or what I want to be to be true, is that the public across the planet, or at least in the, I don't know about the rest of the world, outside of, G20 countries, or at least the G7, but people are going to have to start to fight back and just not be complacent to let the government take over with everything. So, and this is what I'm hoping is the case with that journalist in the UK. So, my apologies for kind of skipping a little bit ahead on a topic here, but it does need to be addressed.
And, it does. It does.
Yep. And on that note, I don't really have any more to say about that.
Okay. Yeah. So, getting back to topic number one, the British government has been actively intervening, not in an investigation, not in an actual criminal case, which would also be against the law, but on a media accusation of somebody who was critical of the British government. There's no investigation going on. Russell Brand has not been, I don't think he's under investigation. He hasn't been criminally charged, but the British government tried to bluff everybody into thinking that this was the case. And it's like, the moment they try to push this at all, and this is basically a bluff on their part, the very fact of the matter is the fact that they bluffed on this, is them attempting to assert power. And a lot of what the government, a lot of what cancel culture is, a lot of it is bluff, and you just simply have to call them on it. But again, right, that's not what's going to work this time, because they've codified this into law. We already know what's going to happen in Britain. We already know what's going to happen in Canada. This particular Online Safety Act, although keep in mind Daniel Smith will probably, especially once she gets ahead with the APP, the Alberta Police Force, Alberta Provincial Police, if the RCMP attempts to assert themselves on critics of the Canadian government in Alberta, this probably won't go down nearly so well in Alberta. But we won't get too much into that till we get to topic number 5, which I will now we're only at topic number 4 right now. So yeah, let's move on to topic number 4.
Okay.
Now, this one is very interesting because, again, right, Google got caught. Again, Google got caught doing something that you kind of, they are competitors, but the fact that Google would even attempt to do this, and knowing, and again, right, not Jagmeet Singh, Sundar Pichai knows that people, the alt community has caught on to what Google and Facebook and YouTube are doing, right? Like, they know, right? So Google is being watched like a hawk, right? If they attempt to do anything even slightly off, it's going to get caught. Well, guess what happened? This is probably part of the reason why they're also attempting to target Rumble. Guess who got exclusive right to broadcast online anyway? The Republican presidential debates.
Crowder?
Rumble did. Yes, Rumble got exclusive. Yeah, that tells you something about where Rumble is at, right? That the fact that the Republicans trusted Rumble to cover this as opposed to YouTube or Facebook or whatever.
Okay, sorry. My apologies here, but that doesn't actually. It's not that far of a stretch because Dan Bongino is quite involved with Rumble as well.
Yep. So, it's, the fact that the Republicans gave exclusive rights to broadcast the Republican debates on Rumble and not YouTube, that's basic. That's effectively said that basically means that the establishment and the fact that the British also attempted to do what they did, and they included Rumble in the list with YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I mean, the fact that they included Rumble on that list is basically a concession that they consider Rumble part of the mainstream. Now, that's effectively what it means. The only problem is that Twitter's not, well, Twitter is Elon Musk's toy. Elon Musk clearly has a large ego, and Elon Musk will do what is best to serve Elon Musk when it comes to Twitter, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is still better than the old regime, but not as much as people would think. The Rumble, however, and I said this on topic number 2, Rumble was set up from the start with cancel culture in mind. And the CEO of Rumble got put on the spot by significant content creators when Rumble was first established to make sure that they didn't cave into cancel culture. So they set up their business plan so that they wouldn't be nearly as vulnerable to it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is now why, even though, say, for instance, Burger King and some other company had pulled their ads from Rumble over vague accusations against Russell Brand, it has very little effect on Rumble because Rumble doesn't work that way, right? Like, they're threatening to pull ads for most of them. Like, I mean, I believe that Rumble has even spelled it out quite clearly to most of their commercial sponsors. We are a free speech platform, right? If you want to throw ads on here, you've got to understand that you're like, I mean, you can select where your ads go,
Mm-hmm.
but you cannot dictate to us what happens with other channels. You understand that, right? So most of the people who signed on with Rumble are aware of that, which is why you're not getting, unlike Twitter, you're not getting huge numbers of sponsors, like corporate sponsors backing out. Burger King was the only large one. By the way, I have now officially stopped eating at Burger King. And trust me, I like their bacon double cheeseburgers. I do. I make no apologies for that.
And don't.
The whole thing, though, is that, because the Republican Party decided to give Rumble exclusive access, the fact that Rumble, even though, for instance, BitChute and a lot of streaming platforms won't play Sound of Freedom, Rumble will quite happily play Sound of Freedom, as will BitChute, as will Odyssey, right? The fact that the Republicans felt confident enough with Rumble to put their program on Rumble says something. And of course, what ended up happening is, of course, everybody, well, I won't say everybody, but I mean the necessary people were watching Google to see how they treated this. And what Google did is they attempted to bury the content. And they got caught. So now they're facing a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit, which they're going to lose because which they're going to have to settle out of court, or they're going to have to drag out, because I'm pretty sure that the people who did this have the receipts. Again, like, I wasn't really interested in watching the Republican debates, because Trump is going to win. This is more like a debate as to who's going to end up being VP. And and this is just a personal opinion, I think DeSantis should wait till 28 and I definitely don't. I prefer DeSantis over the other guy, because the other guy is a big pharma stooge. Ramaswamy, I think his name is.
Yeah. Oh, he posted his support of the vaccine and the jabs, if I remember correctly. Something like that. Anyway,
I am not interested in having him in there. I do not want a big pharma stooge in there. So I would probably go with DeSantis. I would say DeSantis just probably needs to drop the campaign and wait till 28 when he's gotten and would give him another 4 years to kick ass in Florida before moving on to the presidency. Because, I mean, let's face facts, DeSantis is either going to run for president or will be president at some point. That's pretty much almost a given at this point. Ramaswamy might get up there, but again, right? Given what Big Pharma has just attempted to pull with the vaccinations and the masks again, and that faux media campaign. No, I'm not. I wouldn't want Ramaswamy anywhere near the White House. Just like how I wouldn't want Michelle Rempel Garner anywhere near one of the prime minister seats, right? Like unless Michelle Rempel Garner publicly disavows Soros, I'm not interested in having her anywhere near the prime ministership.
She apparently has dismissed or downplayed what that's all about, actually. But
well, so has Tulsi Gabbard, but I have not seen either of those two specifically disavow. Like, it's going to reach the point where they're going to have to specifically disavow Soros. The same thing's going to happen with Ivanka Trump. Like, Ivanka Trump, assuming Trump wins, and it's a very good I'm going to go out on a limb here. It's not going to be the cakewalk for the Republicans in the next election. Reason being, and you'll find out more about this next week on the next show.
Okay.
It's not a very good idea for the political right to start attacking the manosphere, especially when you consider that the number of men in the manosphere is growing at an absolutely exponential rate. Right? Like, they're going to be politically viable. There's going to be slightly politically viable by 2024, but by 2028, they're gonna have to deal with it. Like, if Trump, like Ivanka Trump the same thing's going to happen. Ivanka Trump is going to have to publicly disavow Soros. Like, all of those, like, same thing with Jagmeet Singh, same thing with anybody. Like, at some point, you're gonna these politicos are all gonna start facing pressure. Like, you either disavow Soros or you're never advancing any further. Same thing with Crenshaw, right?
Oh, I don't see Crenshaw doing anything of that sort. He's got, not going to do it, not improve 1,000 points of light, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So Google's been caught doing it. Obviously, they buried the content, and of course they got caught burying the content because they're being watched.
Mm-hmm.
But they went ahead and did it anyway and hoped to God that nobody was going to find out, which, by the way, is why, I have DuckDuckGo as my current search engine of choice. I'm probably, given what how some of the people over at DuckDuckGo have added, I may eventually move over to Brave. Period.
Well, Brave is the one I use.
Yeah, I'm at DuckDuckGo right now. I'm slowly transitioning over to Brave. I haven't done it yet. I probably will at some point. It's the same sort of thing. Google and Alphabet can afford to be disregarding of this sort of thing, because, and this is something that Raging Golden Eagle talked about years and years ago, right? it's a few million there, it's 10 million there, it's a couple of 100,000 here, right? You know, and what eventually happens is that every time Google, like for instance, right, what happened with Great Inventors, where you do some Google searches and you do, like, for instance, if you type in white couples into Google, I don't know whether it still happens or not. Maybe I'll take a look.
Okay.
But if you typed in white couples versus black couples on Google,
Mhm.
you would. I'm actually gonna go do that right now. What happened if you type in white couples on Google? You get intermixed race couples. If you type in black couples, you get black couples.
Shocker.
Here, I'm actually gonna do it right now here. So yeah, they keep getting caught doing this all the time. Maybe they haven't. Okay, so yeah, here's the images for white couples. Come on, let's go. Oh, nope, they changed it. Oh, wait, no. Wait, yeah. Mixed race couples, half the photos. Mixed race couples are in half the photos on Google. However, if you type in black couples, which I'm about to do, okay, and you type this one, and you go to images. Oh, yeah, look at that. Nothing but black couples all the way through. No mixed race couples at all. But if you go to white couples, you see mixed race couples literally on the first page. About a third of the photos. About a third of the photos are of mixed race couples. So yeah, Google, and this is just one of many. Sundar Pichai has been lucky. The first time he had to go testify at Congress about his type of behavior, the Congress wasn't very internet savvy. Here's the thing. They are now much more internet savvy than they were 4 years ago, right? So Pichai were to go back and type in and have to testify again and try to run the same con jobs that he ran back in some of the excuses that he used the last time he was forced to testify. I don't think he would have quite as easy a time of it. Also, a lot of the rhinos are gone from the Republican Party, right? They're de-rhinoing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happens with the Conservative Party. So yeah, Google has been caught time and time again doing this. And it wouldn't surprise me if if I were to start typing Russell Brand, that they're probably they can afford to be this way because they're still like 93% of the people who do searches use Google.
Mm-hmm.
But again, right, it's not necessarily as far along as, say, but then again, right, at one point in time, right, BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble were all just very tiny slivers of the viewing audience, as opposed to, say, YouTube. Here's the thing, though. Rumble is not small potatoes anymore. Rumble is now 10% of the size of YouTube in terms of viewership. It is going to get much bigger now because it is mainstream and everybody knows about it, and Rumble is not going to toe the line. You know, so and even if they were to somehow get Rumble to toe the line, I mean, then Odyssey and BitChute are also there, and I don't know why BitChute is still insists on staying in Britain, but that's neither here nor there. Google, though, if Google is going to have, and this is maybe part of the reason why they buried this, Google damn well knows, especially if Trump gets reelected, Trump is going to be a coming for a few people. Google is probably not necessarily, maybe not at the top of the list, but they are damn near the top. They're not at the top of the list, but they're probably in the top 10. Like, Google is probably in a situation where they're going to have to break up. So it's like, yeah, it's in their best political interest to try to bury the Republican debate, which, again, yeah, they can't do that anymore because everybody, I won't say everybody, but, you know, they're being watched by the necessary people. Right? And this lawsuit pretty much proves that. And I'm turning it over to you now.
I mean, this isn't the first time that there's basically been an antitrust court case here. Isn't Google's best interest to, if only indirectly, to promote their competitors? No. Would I be doing the same thing as Google? Yeah, probably. Let's be honest. Well, I'll be honest. And, I mean, is it really all that surprising? And no, it's not. I mean, the chicanery of Google's track record is, if you're aware, is fucking notorious, in my honest opinion. I mean, the censorship that they've done on YouTube, we've been affected by it only because of CIARella or whatever the hell his name was. And again, you took that name out, and it posted without, you're able to post that video without any problems. And given the predilection of the symbolism of Google, I'd apologize for going off on a conspiracy theory here, but the Gmail symbol looks a lot like a Freemason symbol, or the Freemason apron. What could be said as being, you can see the three sixes for the symbol for Chrome. That's apparently the Seal of Solomon or something like that. I can't remember what it is. It's a very religious symbol, and it seems to be likely to be satanic. Google Play's symbol, there are some little hooks or curves that come out of the lines that are being drawn through that icon. That's quite negatively mystical, shall we say. So for me, at the end of the day, I don't trust Google. I mean, I don't like having Android and the fucking thing. I know it's recording my conversation here to begin with, and you indirectly as well. But if you think that Apple isn't doing the same fucking thing, well, I wish I could be as naive as anybody that does believe that. And I mean, let's not forget, going back into the admitted election interference that was done, that they had a town hall meeting about doing everything they can to get the results of what they want for Hillary to win in 2016. I mean, that came out, 2018, somewhere in 2020. It was during Trump's presidency that was revealed. So, again, is this surprising given what Google's track record is for not being a very ethical company? Nope. Well, sorry, let me rephrase that. Not for me, it isn't. And it's not. So, excuse me. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and given the extreme high likelihood that Google is so wrapped up with the deep state, I'm not surprised at all. Not in the least. I'm waiting to find a operating system alternate to Android. And now that I'm thinking about it, that's rather telling as to perhaps the attitude that Google has towards anyone that has an Android phone is that they want. I'm sure that this is there somewhere. They want to turn everybody, any surviving member of humanity, into an android, if they could, or a robot, or perhaps that their phone is making them well, no, the phone's making them a slave. Let's not kid ourselves. Anyway, I can't wait to see Google fall from grace, just like I can't wait to see Apple and Siri and. Let's reverse the letters for Siri, shall we say? Iris, I. Anyway, I'm sounding kind of like Jaffe. My apologies here. Anyway, the sooner Google gets taken down more than a few notches or pegs, the happier I will be. So, yeah, that's all I got for now. Let's move on to the next one, the Trucker Convoy trial and whatnot. So, ready when you are, my friend.
Okay, yeah, I was looking. I was looking up somebody else to send the Kira TV video off to. There's a school trustee in Red Deer who publicly has gone on the record and said that the LGBTQ2S+ community, if you compare the brainwashing of that to brainwashing in Nazi Germany, the press is leaning on her really, really hard, and she's not breaking.
Good.
And the mainstream media, though, that might be a topic. That might be a topic for 235. I don't know yet because there's already a lot of stuff on up for 235. But I am going to repost it, and I'll send you the link here. Just give me a second.
Sure.
I'll post it up on Skype so you can take a look at it. Monique LaGrange, on the off chance that you are listening to this, hold the line. Hold the line. It forced them to fire you or get you unelected before you break. Now let's just get back into the next topic here. Oh my God, the Trucker Convoy. The trial. Jesus effing Christ. Oh my God. All right. So the Trucker Convoy. They were only supposed to last maybe about 2 to 4 weeks. It is now going into week 6. What it basically looks like with the Trucker Convoy trials and also you'll notice that they're not doing a lot of coverage of it as well, by the way. But what the government has basically been trying to do is they've been rolling out every single possible little detail that they can from this is something that I got from Redacted. Every single possible little detail that they could find against Tamara Litch and the other organizer, and they're just throwing everything like the prosecution is just basically throwing out every single piece of single solitary evidence that they've got and hopes that something sticks. Here's the problem when they do that. The more they do that, they only have to have a couple of these pieces of evidence not work for the whole prosecution to fall apart. This is the same sort of thing that happened with Kyle Rittenhouse, where they just kept trying and trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And they just kept hoping that the media was somehow going to be able, and they did. The media did try to pressure the jury. Fortunately, and the judge, by the way, they also tried to put pressure on the judge to toe the line, and it didn't work. It's also not working here because if the media covered this, and they're not covering this because they know there's so many holes in their case that it's not going to work, you know, if they do, there'd be so many holes in the story that it would get blown apart. The other, and this is because we were covering this with that reporter last week when I was still up north. The other thing that they're attempting to do here, I suspect, is that they're probably trying to financially break Tamara Lich and the other defendant financially. Yeah. And they're also trying to exhaust, well, I mean, they're also attempting to exhaust the defense attorneys, right? They've got other cases that they have got to work on. There's other clients. Some of them might pay better, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think, though, what is going on in this case is, and again, right, this is part of the issue about using process as punishment. Eventually, people start getting smart to it, right? So the lawyers that are probably doing this for free, even though they've got other cases, they're just simply going to the judges and going, well, no, I got this case over here, and they're intentionally dragging it out. If that's the case, then all of these other cases have to just get pushed back. That's literally all they're doing. So, I mean, this is a two-pronged attempt. They're a three-pronged attempt from what I'm seeing. One, they're ignoring the case because there's probably so many holes in it that if they started publicly covering it, they would that it would get blown out of the water. Two, they're like literally they're just basically trying to drown the jury in evidence to make it look like they're guilty just by the mass of the evidence. The only problem is that the more they do this, the more opportunities that they're giving the defense to blow holes in the case, and apparently they are. And the third part is they're attempting to fatigue out Tamara Lich, the other defendant, and the defense attorneys. Process through punishment, right? Process is punishment, right? They're attempting to make Tamara Lich and the defense attorneys, the defense attorneys have lives, they've got wives, they've got other jobs, they've got clients that potentially pay better that they've got to go deal with. And it's sort of like, yeah, oops, sorry, I can't do this. This case has been dragging. I'm still dealing with this case, right? So they've got other clients that also probably potentially need legal help, and they can't give those other clients the attention that they require because they're still dealing with this. And it's like, so the lawyers are taking a financial hit as well. Also, they're attempting to fatigue the jury. They're attempting to fatigue the judge, right? They're hoping that as this drags on, that the judge will just start to expedite things along and ignore basic rules of law just to keep this thing moving. So, I mean, they're attempting to do this in a way that, it's a joke, but it's a joke because everybody knows what they're attempting. Well, I'm going to say everybody, but I mean the people on our side of the fence, the ones who supported the convoy. Although I very wisely didn't financially support the convoy. I really wished I had, though. I would absolutely have been proud with that guy. I mean, leaked that stuff on Gibson. I would have actually been proud to have had my name on that list. But the whole thing just unspooled. So, like, I mean, the whole thing is just it's being done on purpose, right? And it's making, again, right, among as if Trudeau cannot stop making himself look stupid. You know, this just is just making him look even stupider. But again, this isn't about whether they look stupid or not. This is basically an attempt via the Chinese water torture to just wear down the people that they're prosecuting. And this is becoming a tactic that the state has been using on people to get them to submit, right? Just wear them down, right? Wear out the defense attorneys, wear out the defendant, get the defendant so tired and bewildered that they will just simply accept a plea just to get it over with, right? That's what they're attempting to do here. The legal system is a little bit different in Canada, so I don't know whether that's going to work or not. And again, right, these tactics become less and less effective each time you use them. So, I mean, yeah, our side, we're getting used to the process is punishment thing. If they try to do something with Tamara Lich in them again, where they attempt to try to exhaust them into giving up, what's going to happen is Gibson goes just going to basically run another defense fund for the Canadian protesters in the trucker convoy, and their coffers are going to get filled up again. That's really what it boils down to. So yeah, don't know what's going on, but it has been going on, and it's a bit of it. It's definitely a bit of a joke. Now, the other part on this, and again, remember when we were talking about on topic number 3, where Britain starts pulling bluffs in terms of the investigation of Russell Brand? Well, that is what the Canadian government has been doing in terms of masks, right? Of course, this new COVID scare and this whole mask scare just ever so conveniently just happens right around the time that Pfizer comes out with a new vaccine. But we won't cover that. But what Theresa Tam and Justin Trudeau have gone and said and done is that they have suggested that they are going to use the full force of the law and start using fines and the actual legal force to make people start wearing masks again. And of course, right, it's just a bluff at this point. But again, right, the Joe Biden bluff that any employee, every company with employees over 100 people, they have to get all the employees vaccinated. It didn't hold up in court. This didn't stop multiple companies from forcing a lot of their employees to get the vaccine, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah.
This is the same sort of thing. This is a bluff that's not going to hold up to a legal challenge, but they're going to do it anyway.
Well, they're going to try.
They're going to do it anyway because they could try, and they haven't actually gone out and made an executive policy decision to go ahead and force this issue. Here's the other thing, right? They're going to be selective about which, again, because of the way the Canadian system is set up, they can only do so much at the national level, which basically means that they require the provinces to actually do this. So, of course, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and I'm trying to remember, I think there's another province that's not going to go along with this. They're not going to do it. Daniel Smith gutted that entire medical group that was trying to push that propaganda back at the late 2021 and early 2022. That group is gone. Like, they're not going to be able to pull this in Alberta. Now, unfortunately for me, I don't work in Alberta. I work in Nunavut at this point, so I don't know whether I'm going to have to wear a mask when I'm up there. I'm hoping I won't. That's part of the issue, though. It just takes one person to fuck it up. So don't know whether they've actually gone and done it. But just to give you an idea of what I told you about when I had to do those training modules, which I haven't completed yet, right?
God, yeah.
I told you about those, and it was like, nope, they will buckle down, they will toe the line outside of Alberta and Saskatchewan. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen with me there. I am not getting the fucking vaccine. Period. Like, I'm not doing it. But yeah. This is where the Canadian government is at. Of course, when we cover Nazi Gate for 334, there is very clear pressure on Trudeau to step down. He's not going to do it because he has to push this, and then he has to push this, and he's just going to keep going. I mean, I'm not sure whether he's going to go the route of Brian Mulroney, where he reduces the Liberals down to just like 6 seats or something like that. But I mean, at this point, Poilievre's got a 12-point lead. Like, Poilievre, if the election were held today, Poilievre would win a majority. So, the only hope that Trudeau, keep in mind, Trudeau can continue to run until, 2025? Can hold office till 2025 if Jagmeet Singh decides to toe the line.
Yeah.
Here's the issue, though. Even with the political predilections of the NDP, right? Jagmeet Singh, the NDP is going, Jagmeet Singh has refused to call Trudeau out on anything. And he has dropped at least 2 attempts where he could have come out a hero to the Canadian people, and
he won't.
and force a vote of non-confidence. And the NDP could go, yeah, look what we did. We stopped Trudeau. He won't do it.
No, he won't. Because apparently, and I think I've seen him actually be World Economic Forum young global leader, whatever, stooge.
Yeah, he is. So, I mean, it's going to require a push inside, and it is going to happen at some point, because there are, and keep in mind, the NDP is filled with a lot of stooges right now, but even
sorry, go ahead.
When you get your chance, you can cover this. So, I mean, when Jagmeet Singh is going to have to, at least on paper, make it look like he's trying to get Trudeau to toe the line here. He cannot continue to just give Trudeau blank check after blank check after blank check. And eventually his party, the New Democrats, even with their political predilections, are going to, there's going to be somebody inside the party that's going to just turn on them. Right? Because it's like the NDP has given up at least 2 attempts to force a non-confidence motion, and they can go, yes, we're so happy. We forced this non-confidence motion. We didn't support Trudeau. And that's the reason why you should be voting for us instead of Liberals, because we looked out for you. NDP won't do it. So, yeah. And, of course, they're going along with the mask mandate. So what can I say? And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, I think we're going to have to find some way to perhaps incorporate this song for Trudeau's issues in India. Well, give me a minute here just to get to that point. As for Singh not pulling the plug, I think it's a combination of 2 things, which the biggest thing being is that I'm sure he's been told not to keep Trudeau in power, because if he pulls the plug, he will be and if it's played correctly by Poilievre, And I think it will be, but who knows? But Polyev plays his cards correctly and points out was the Trudeau government penetration, and Jagmeet Singh also being part of that group. And people start to realize what's he talking about? They're done. Like the NDP and the Liberals, as they are right now, will be finished for a while. So it ain't gonna happen. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I'm going to try to get back to the original topic here, which is the government dragging this out on and on and on, because simply put, it is the government, and they can certainly do that because they have pretty much unlimited resources. Talking with our friend, it did mention about the push for more vaccines or mask mandates or whatever it is. I can't remember what I had said to him. He said that the people that he knows, at least the sentiment in Ontario seems to be, is a lot of people are sick of it. Like it's not gonna fucking happen. And if they do, if the push right now with the 1 million person march for the kids, and they're doing another one, I think on the 22nd or 23rd. Let me just look that up. I think it's gonna be the 22nd or 21st of October, and I'm gonna make a point to go. I'm gonna definitely partake with that. If that really gains traction and people have had enough,
What did you do? What did you do? I just saw the sirens turn off, man. Did are you walking around outside doing this show with your goddamn gimp suit on? Continue.
I assure you that I am just wearing boxers in my room. I'm actually in the room now. I've got my space. The wife is. We've swapped spots. I ended up buying a cot, and she sleeps fairly well in that. And the bedroom has become my workspace, and it's now basically it's my one bedroom, my semi-bachelor pad. So no. Actually, indirectly, this will have an effect on my body fat percentage. It's going to slowly go down because I can't walk around and nibble and grab things like I could before. Anyway, totally derailed. Fucked here. Fuck. All that they can do at this point right now is to try to delay it for as long as possible, as you said, to wear them down, and I don't see that's going to work. Ternilich strikes me as the person. I mean, if she was determined with what she did for with the trucker convoy, she's got the mental testicular fortitude and backbone. I can't see her backing down. Financially, it could be an issue, but I don't think it is going to be, because if it gets brought up that she needs money to deal with all of this, I'm sure there will be a lot of people that will send donations to help her out. So I'm not really worried about that. I mean, there's a lot of nasty tactics that were brought to light as to how authoritarian things really are in this country. And if anybody honestly believes that they live in a free country, he's like, no, you don't. You don't. You have... You've got a collar and you've got a chain. You just don't know how much running space or how much length you have to run with that before it's going to... like you would see in the cartoons with the dog, it's yapping, it's taking off, it runs, it hits the maximum length of the leash or the cord or the chain or whatever, and its feet. It's restrained in a rather comical manner, and that's more or less how people are as well too. Like I said, we don't know how you and I are, and people like us are aware that we are on a short leash, but most people haven't seen what the leash is capable of doing. So, yeah. I can't wait to get into Nazigate. I can't wait. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's just unreal.
Wednesday.
Absolutely.
We're doing it Wednesday.
I'm looking forward to it. I really am. Okay. Let's move on. Oh.
All right.
Sorry. And as a prelude,
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh, I thought you would.
Oh my god. Yeah, we'll do that for Nazi Gate. next Wednesday. I don't care if I get a strike for playing that song.
With the allegation being what it is, and I realize I'm shooting myself in the foot here, but the gentleman's agreement of what happens behind closed doors has been blown wide open, but I've got some theories on that. Anyway. I may not be as funny as other people, but I do have my moments.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah, don't forget to remind me to play that song. At the start of Nazi Gate. Although it doesn't necessarily directly apply to Nazi Gate, I'm sure. Actually, maybe I'll do it when I get around to you. Then we'll play the cocaine song.
Well, maybe we should just do it right off the bat.
Oh, yeah, at the start of the oh, yeah, we could do that. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the next one. Okay, this is one that I think, and we knew this was going to happen. Anybody who was impartial knew this was going to happen. Russia just simply doesn't have. Russia's just so much larger than the Ukraine, and gotta point out that while Putin is not anywhere, shouldn't by no means be considered a saint. You know, the human trafficking, the Azov battalion, the way they were treating, in particular, what happened in the eastern part of Russia with the ethnic Russians there, and the way the Azov battalion was going around.
Donetsk. Oh God,
that whole Donetsk reason, which is the reason why the Russians had that. The Russians were pretty much forced into it. And I got to point out that the Russians are not significantly better than the Ukrainians. There's a bit of a myth in the alt media that the Russians are the good guys in this situation. I got to point out that apparently Putin played ball with the globalists when it came to COVID, among other things. And of course, there was the mysterious downing of Perezhogin's plane that just happened to fly a little bit too close to one of Putin's mansions that happened to have air defense bad missiles that were able to conveniently shoot down a plane that got too close, right?
Okay, my friend. Okay. I got to use facilities. I got to mute myself. I will be back.
Okay, so here's the situation when it comes to Ukraine. From the outset, they just didn't have the material resources, the financial resources, or the manpower resources to be engaged in a long-term war with Russia, even if they got outside support, which they got in spades, by the way. The whole situation with the Russia-Ukraine situation is that ultimately, I mean, Russia just has so many more resources than the Ukraine has, and it comes down to human resources. And of course, what's also not so well known about about the Ukraine is that they didn't have the resources to they just don't have the human resources to actually take advantage to engage in a prolonged attack, a fight with Russia. And that was obvious. So even a lot of Ukrainians weren't willing to get into a deal with we're willing to support Zelensky, mostly probably because he was getting a lot of support from people of rather ill repute. Now, it's been in the best interest of a lot of the entire West to try to keep this war with Russia going at all costs. You know, and the stuff that they're shipping over is getting more and more and more. And I mean, you started here, and of course, a lot of Ukrainians who knew what the writing on the wall was going to be decided that hold on, saw the writing on the wall, and basically either ran to Belarus or to Georgia or to some other place that or even into Russia to avoid having to fight for a very corrupt regime. And I got to point out that the Zelensky regime is incredibly corrupt. So knowing all of that, you know, it was going to come down. I mean, from the very start, people were saying that this is going to come down to, at some point, it was going to come down to a negotiated settlement. Are you back, Rearson?
I possibly the reason why I'm unmuted. Yep.
Yep. So yeah, the whole situation. So it's like, yeah. You started seeing reports about 2-3 months ago about how, and this been confirmed because I've seen the videos of it actually happening, of them just like literally dragging men off the street. Once you're at the point where you have to basically drag the unwilling into a war to fight for you, you've lost. Now, keep in mind, South Korea, that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work. South Korea, for instance, was notorious during the Korean War for basically just dragging men off the street and forcing them to fight the North Koreans during the Korean War. It happened quite frequently, as a matter of fact, and the Koreans won. I got to point out something, though. In that particular case, the Koreans had extensive outside help from the West. This is the same sort of situation, except, of course, that Ukraine does not have troops from the West going into Ukraine to fight for the Ukrainians. And if they were to start sending troops in, that would be a de facto declaration of war. Basically, at that point, World War III will have effectively started. They don't want to do that, although they are apparently, that's part of the reason why, and when we get into 334, we'll actually get a little bit more into it. That's part of the reason why the Manosphere is going to start coming under such withering attacks, because the overwhelming amount of men, and I'm going to say 90% plus, I don't think it's going to be 99.9% plus, but the overwhelming majority of men in the Manosphere are not going to sign up and fight for the West against Russia. Like, it's just not going to happen. And there's going to be so many of them that are not going to do this, that it's potentially going to throw a wrench into their works, right? Like, you know, and again, because we're in North America, we're going to make it about us. What's going to happen here is that if they do attempt to do this, there's basically two ways that they're going to try to bring more soldiers in. They're going to institute a draft, which is not going to work because guys in the manosphere won't do it. They might try to do what they did in World War I, where they tried to where they might send women out to white feather. That's not going to work now because you have an active manosphere that is going to openly, and I'm just going to say this, and ladies, on the off chance that you happen to hear this, you need to keep this in mind, regardless of your political association. If you attempt to white feather men in the manosphere to fight in a war that they don't agree with, it is not going to go well for you. The only other method they've got is to do basically what the Ukrainians were doing in Ukraine. And they're going to have to send out what basically amounts to press gangs. Or they're going to send out troops to recruit soldiers by force. That will also not work very well because unlike any other country on the planet, if you send out armed units to try to force men into your army by force in the United States, actually pretty much anywhere in North America, because don't get me wrong, if Trudeau or whoever takes over from Trudeau were to try this in Canada, it might work short term, but I can guarantee you that there will be plenty of guns coming up to Canada to deal with the situation, right? Like those press gangs are eventually going to find themselves on the opposite end of gunfire coming against them, right? So, I mean, they seem hell-bent on doing this anyway. But, I mean, it looks like the Ukrainians themselves cannot keep this fight up, this sustained. The offensive that they had planned for at some point in the fall, it was literally dead before it even got started. The Russians can and do have enough resources to launch another offensive if they need to. They have tried, they tried, and we talked about this a couple weeks ago. They tried to get the Starlink system to try to hit the Russian port on Crimea, and Elon Musk just decided, no, I don't think I want to start World War III by doing that, right? So they're coming to a critical point in the Ukrainian war. Ukraine is going to have to either throw in the towel and go and have a negotiated settlement with the Russians, or they're going to have to step up. The West is going to have to step up and start sending troops in. And it will probably happen somewhere in the next 12 to 18 months, probably sooner. So effectively, as it currently stands, unless the West is willing to risk World War III at this point, and by the way, it's very, very likely that the Russians also know about the clandestine plan of the West, in particular the people in the Biden administration, that they were planning on going to war with Russia in 2027 anyway. So they might just try to call the Americans' bluff beforehand. But with that, I am going to turn it back over to Rearson.
I think at this point, I'm of the opinion that it has to be drawn out because there was a push for Ukraine to be accepted into NATO. But they can't do that if there is a conflict, armed conflict. Apparently, and I'm not sure, from what I believe to be true, and I don't know where to look for this, but apparently, again, Ukraine did not formalize its border with Russia when they became independent. And something like that, you just don't. I'll say this again. If that's true, you don't let something like that just you don't forget about it. Like they had like 15 years or something like that. At the most, I don't know, to formalize that, but they never did. So if that's the case, this is a matter of it being a civil war. It's inconvenient to say it like that, but that's, again, if this is true, that's what it would be. At least that's my perspective and my opinion. I might be wrong. I could very well be wrong. I mean, in terms of manosphere content, I think Joker actually brought this up, is that the hypergamous nature of women, the guys that are been conscripted, well, they've gotten 70% of them of the men that this guy sees, who's some sort of a counselor in Ukraine. We'll see how long he's going to be around for. 70% of the guys that he's working with for whatever his business is, the wife left. She's gone to another country. She's gone to Poland or Spain or fucking wherever else because she can't handle the uncertainty, or doesn't want to handle it, or doesn't want to deal with it. So, I mean, that's another victory of sorts in this warfare, is the psychological warfare on the females. The Russian military is apparently, allegedly, providing stats for planes that they've shot down. About 10,000 Ukrainian troops have given up because apparently they're given no training. They've got virtually no food, or really, here you go, good luck. And they're giving up en masse. And again, this whole thing about forced conscription. I've heard about Poland in some form or another, stating that that Poland needs to support Ukraine pretty much at all costs, as much as they can get involved in, without actually going to war. Again, there's a woman that I work with. She is Ukrainian, and she's from Western Ukraine, but she'd be more suited for living in the Donetsk area, and being much more supportive of Russia. Given the heavy-handed nature of what I've seen so far, I mean, I've seen people that have been duct taped or saran wrapped or whatever to metal poles, and the guys have been they've had their pants and underwear drop down to their ankles, and they can't do anything, and people have walked up to them and slapped them or hit them. They might be Russians. They might also be, shall we say, defectors. Be the ones that don't want to fight. And it is only a matter of time until it folds, until it collapses, because they can't maintain that. I would love for this to be over as soon as possible, but the corruption in other countries has to be brought to light. I know that right now, and it's probably being done for this reason specifically. I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you that my apologies. I can pretty much guarantee you that even the left, the moderates on the left in America are probably starting to ask themselves questions of why are we sending more and more and more cash to Ukraine when we should be starting to actually focus on our country first? I mean, I heard of some Ukrainian minister, some government official, I don't remember what it was caught trying to go into Poland or somewhere else, and he was walking around with millions of US dollars on him. So it's going to be shit like that has to be, unfortunately, dragged out at the expense of civilians. But then again, I am also of the opinion that where they are, that's what they knew was going to happen or agreed to, but it isn't the person as in the 3 dimension. It's going to be the person in the 4th, 5th, or 6th dimension that's playing these games that are being fought down here. Kind of like what happened with my uncle. My opinion of my uncle, I didn't get along with him the last 7 years of his life. I never spoke with him ever again. He passed away, and it was one of those, well, he did what he was told. He got himself jabbed, and he had the proof of vaccination on his laptop. One of them, anyway, or it was on one of the hard drives. Anyway. The changes that we have to deal with at this point in time that are coming through have to be done, and it's unfortunate, but that's just the way that it is, and it's the way that it has to be done. When it comes to any war, there will always be casualties, and given the biolabs and the trafficking of children and the trafficking of women in Ukraine, it is a mess. It is disgusting to even start to really describe it, in my honest opinion. But that war will be over, or to be in the beginning stages of being over, when they'll start to report on that stuff in the news, in the media. And right now, this is my opinion, we're not there yet. And I'm hoping it does get there, but it requires time. It's going to require for more people to wake up, or to at least be more excuse me, or open to hearing things that are going to be different, that they're going to be uncomfortable with, which most people are not. Now, unlike a certain individual that I'm having a new issue with, who's brought up his great-great-grandfather's ethnicity, which only works out to about 6% of his current genome, based on 50% per generation, that it gets lost. And it gets mixed up with, it becomes diluted. There we go, that's what I'm looking for, diluted. I may be of Ukrainian or Polish descent on my father's side, but I'm going to tell you right now, I want the current Ukrainian government, I want the Azov Battalion, all of the things that make for a repressive regime, a corrupt place to be. I mean, apparently Ukraine is like the place for money laundering. The place to do it. Or to have your connections with it. I mean, again, Romney, Pelosi, John Kerry. Oh, yes, and of course, Hunter Biden, or Joe Biden. Their kids are on the board of directors for petroleum companies, and they have no idea what they're doing. None. It is a corrupt cash grab for all of the shit that they're all associated with. I don't even know what to say about that one. So it's things like this that, okay, no, that actually makes sense now that I'm thinking about it, because now we're finally starting to deal with Hunter Biden and all of the dealings that he's gotten and done, because I could say this to you, Naroki, about, whatever that Ukrainian company that Hunter Biden was on the board of directors for.
Burisma.
Thank you, Burisma. It's going to be things like Burisma that have to finally be brought in through the court system, that has to go through the media, and then that will be the beginning of, I'm hoping will be the beginning of the end for that conflict to be settled. And until that happens, I don't see it going away. Once things with Ukraine get settled down, I can pretty much guarantee you that the next one will be China and Taiwan. And that's it's going to be another one as well, too. It's going to be fucking ugly. It really will. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it. I don't see that I'm going to be incorrect. If I'm going to be incorrect, I've got a feeling I'll be at least half right with what the public will perceive or see or feel or whatever. So there we go.
Well, I mean, they're running out of the ability to use proxies to fight their war for them. Yeah, Taiwan is going to be, because the Chinese military is nowhere near at the same level as the Russian military. Yeah, they've got numbers, but unlike the Ukraine-Russian thing, the U.S. economy can only they might be a little bit more willing to get on board with stopping the Chinese.
Yeah.
So that part might work. They might try to goad the Chinese into actually starting something with Taiwan, because they might try to do that, because the people might be a little bit more willing to go and stop the Chinese as opposed to stopping the Russians.
Well, right now the Chinese are flying around Taiwan. So they haven't applied the screws to the thumbs yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Well, they know that there's no way that because the Chinese have got their own version of the manosphere. We've discussed that at some point, called lying flat. Lying flat man is probably just one faction of a very large growing group inside of China. It's basically the same sort of thing as Kikimori in Japan, or MGTOW in the West, right? You're getting a lot of people in China that are just not wanting to participate in the system anymore. right? Because
Yep.
there's no real way of advancing in that system. And, you know, the only way that they can potentially goad them out of it is to force a war. And then basically the only problem is that troops drafted via press gangs or the equivalent of press gangs, they're not going to be the most loyal, the most dedicated troops out there. Like, they're just not. It's not going to happen, right? So China's in a situation where they're going to have to do something as well. And they're looking at the United States and they're seeing, and they've got to know, because of the mainstream media is now covering. They've tried everything in there. And by the way, I'm going to also note, because when we talk about this next week, I mean, the attacks on the Manosphere, like, you will notice, and I will point this out at the time, they are bending over backwards to avoid saying the name Meg Tao. It's almost like Voldemort in the Harry Potter world.
Yeah.
You know, they're bending over backwards to say the Trudeau won't say it. None of these conservative individuals that just started attacking the Manosphere won't say it. None of these people that are trying to launch themselves against the Manosphere lately, none of them will say the word MGTOW. Not one. Right? And the reason why they're saying it is obviously because that word in particular in the Manosphere has got some power behind it, right? People start looking up MGTOW, even with, and we talked about this earlier, even with Google and Wikipedia and all of these mainstream sources running black. Well, I mean, you end up getting a situation like you have with Kira TV, where the guy just basically went with what was presented to him, and he landed so far off the mark that it's like he's having to now shadow ban my response to him because his stuff just won't hold up to scrutiny.
Yeah.
You know, and if he thinks he's gonna have, if he thinks like he can dismiss me because I'm just a relatively small guy with a combined moat of like maybe about 250 people on 3 different platforms, you know, he's not going to be able to dismiss, if assuming Rollo Tomasi does respond, which he might, or some of the other big Manosphere content creators, or Joker, or some of the other people that I'm going to be letting know now, right? Or Sandman. Sandman might also do a response. I'm going to see if I can't contact Sandman. Like, what's he going to do when these people start tearing his content apart? And it's not just MGTOWs. It's the entirety of the Manosphere that's going to come after him, right? And it's like he's got his facts so wrong that the only thing he's going to be, basically he's going to be in the same situation like Mooncat, except worse, because at least Mooncat, and you saw my response videos to her. God, it's like 5 hours worth of fucking response video to an hour and a half long video. I'm not going to do that with Kira. I'm going to try to be a little bit shorter with that one. But I mean, you know, the whole thing is just, I mean, the whole thing is going to disintegrate. And getting back to the original point here, because of what's going on there, they know that there's a now significant portion of the male population that is just not going to fight. And the United States and the West have very limited, because it's the Manosphere, like the tactics that they used before are not going to work. They can't use the white feather, because if they start sending women out trying to fucking shame guys for not fighting in a proxy war or a war that's basically designed to keep their population distracted, like, these guys are not going to do it. In fact, these women might even potentially be putting their health and maybe even their lives on the line if they try to fucking white feather.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the press gangs, that might work in the short run, but if they keep sending out press gangs and trying to force people to, and they start dragging men off the farm, in recruiting them in the cities to go fight in these wars, right? That's going to be very difficult to do in a population where you have a gun behind every blade of grass. And that will eventually be the entirety of North America. Trudeau might be able to do it for a little bit longer, but not for that much longer, right? So, yeah, that means they're going to have to keep a significant amount of resources at home just to keep their own population in line, right? And they're going to have to keep back heavy military assets if they want to go out and try to basically, quote unquote, drag people off the street and drag boys off the farm to fight in a war for them. Because they're going to have to protect these press gangs, because these press gangs, if they just go out onto the street and try doing this, they're going to get fucking shot. They're going to have about a zillion fucking holes shot in them. Especially when people get wise to it. Yeah. And of course, the mainstream media is not. So yeah, basically what it boils down to is that you're seeing internal pressures in both China and the United States. The Chinese have definitely got to know about the manosphere, right? So they know there's not a significant amount of the population that's going to. It's the same sort of thing with going back to the original point here with Russia and Ukraine, right? The only way they can drag this war out much longer is to actually get directly involved themselves, or ramp it up, and heaven fucking forbid if they try to ramp up the nuclear rhetoric, right? Like that would be insane. But I mean, this particular group of people that are in power, again, right? This is almost like the same sort of thing they did with Trudeau. They would rather blow up the world and rule over the ashes rather than give up their power. You have to start considering the possibility that that's exactly what they might try and do.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just get on with the last topic here. Because I really regretted that I wasn't able to participate in this. I really do regret the fact that I was not able to participate in this, but I was up north. Well, let me put it to you this way. You were told repeatedly to leave the kids alone. Leave my kid alone. Hey, could you leave my kid alone, please? Hey, leave my kid alone. Hey, will you leave my kid alone? Hey, leave. Hey, yeah, you fucking asshole. Leave my fucking kid alone. And the anger is gonna, and it's like, and they just keep doing it, right? So now it's gone up to the next level. Now you've got parents in the not just 100, but in the thousands in Canada, marching out literally in every. Go ahead, Rearson.
Well, I was going to say in different cities, so it's moving. It's people are starting to wake up.
So they've got them now in basically it was the estimated number of people that took part in this protest was like apparently larger than the number of people combined. The combined moat was apparently larger than the number of people who occupied Ottawa, except it was spread out across the country. Now the mainstream media tried to play it out as if it was just a small fringe group, but if you actually go take a look at some of the videos that they've shown, you will clearly see that is not the case, you know. And here's the thing, right? First of all, they were told leave the kids alone, and it was leave the kids alone, please. And it's like leave the kids alone. And now they're at the point where they're like going, hey, leave my kids alone. All right, the next level. So what's going to happen if you keep going after someone's kid after you've been repeatedly told not to? What do you think is going to happen? And this is a degree and a level of insanity that I've only seen addicts do, right? Yeah, what do you think is going to happen here? Because I mean, like I was saying, I just reported, like, I mean, you've now got public officials now, like that woman in Red Deer, for instance, that are publicly going, no, that's it, enough's enough, right? You know, And they're starting to, and you're starting to see people on school boards now starting to push back. And these people, and I hate to, I mean, I don't want to call them sexual deviants because I mean, if you want to do what you want to do in the privacy of your own bedroom, that's really not any of my business, right? I really don't care. I was actually in full support of gays getting married. I had zero issue with it, and I took heat from the right when I said I was publicly in support of this, right? Like I had conservatives yelling and screaming at me on WordPress because I chose to support this.
Yeah.
You know, like I took the heat for it, and they were saying at the time, this is going to be a slippery slope. I said, well, don't be ridiculous. And I was like, yeah, no, they were right. Right. And they had been told. And it's like, they're like addicts, right? They just get told over and over and over and over and over again, don't do this, don't do this, please don't do it. And it's like at each time it gets more forceful and it gets angrier, right? Like you're already seeing videos of parents just smashing their fucking way into elementary schools when they find out there's a where there's a trans in there, and they're having to actually physically restrain the parent, right? Like you're seeing situations with, for instance, what happened in Calgary, for instance, right?
Yeah.
You're also seeing instances now when the quartering talked about this, where you're starting to see teachers' unions trying to figure out clandestine, if they're at the point where they're having to clandestinely trying to sneak this stuff into schools, it's time to stop, right? That's like an addict trying to clandestinely hide their using. People are going to find out anyway. And you're actually starting to see actual cases of kids being harmed by this, right? And of course, you know, you're not old enough to drink. You're not old enough to have a driver's license. You're not old enough to do this, but somehow, you know, you can have your genitals cut off at the age of 8, right? Like it makes zero sense. And like we are saying here when we talked about Tim Ballard, the only feasible reason why this makes any logical sense is that they need access to these kids. And they're hiding it in the fact, oh well, there's kids that are going that might be gay, that might need the emotional support that they need. Well, fine, okay, set up something at the high school level, you know, where they can come to terms with it and spell it out to them. They could have done this. They could have set something up at the high school level, you know, where they let them know what their options are and to let them know that they cannot transition until they become a legal adult. Right? But nope, they don't want to do that. They just have to have access to little kids. And of course, what do you think is happening, right? They tried being nice. This is the limit of them being nice, right? Like the next level beyond this. And it is going, and I could almost, I mean, if I had money, actually, what am I thinking? I do actually have money. If I had, like I say, if I had money, I actually do have money. If I might seriously consider putting some money down on someone getting seriously physically hurt or killed next June for Pride Month, because it's getting that bad. And of course, they're building up the rhetoric on they're here, they're going to take away all your rights away, and they want you back in the closet, and they want to take all your rights away, they want to kill you and everything. And they're trying to generate this paranoid. The establishment is trying to generate all this paranoid rhetoric on the other side. And all that's doing is making the situation worse, because all they're doing on the other side is they just keep doubling down on a topic that they should not be doubling down on.
Yeah.
Like, you do not touch other people's kids. You know, I've had just incidental things happen around me, and I had to deal with the reactions of some of the parents over just a misunderstanding. right? And I mean, I spend as little time around kids as possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can remember one time I went into this library and it wasn't a transgender, but there was a whole bunch of kids from a couple of daycares sitting in there. And I went in to do basically, I just went in to peruse the internet, right? But I had to go get myself, I needed to fill up my water container. So I went downstairs, filled up the water container, and, you know, there's a couple of adults sitting around where the kids are, and I mean, I went down, filled up my water container, and I didn't think anything of it, and this one fucking guy came over and started to fucking crowd me, and I pretty much told him to back the fuck off, like loud enough so that they heard it in the library, and they said, yeah, I'm here filling up my water fucking container, fuck off, right? And I said it loudly enough that they actually heard, the guy who was reading to the kids actually heard it, right? And yeah, it got resolved peaceably, but this guy came very dangerously close to getting his fucking teeth punched in, because he was like literally fucking crowding me as I was filling up my water container. Like, he was actually getting into my personal space. You know, and it was like, what are you, fucking stupid? Can you not fucking see the water container? Can you not see me filling up the water fucking container? Right? Like, no, I'm not doing this as a de facto side door attempt to get at someone else's fucking kids. Right? And then there was another incident. Oh, I'm not gonna, there's you know, like, there's also parents out there that are in support of this. But I mean, ultimately, what it's come down to, and it's like the next protest is going to be even worse. And instead of understanding that they should leave other people's fucking kids alone, the mainstream media tried, and I find this very ironic because we'll be covering Nazi Gate on Wednesday. They literally tried to pull the Nazi card. They posted up a bunch of stuff on Instagram and Twitter. Oh, look at these Nazis on the other side. And it was like, it worked for about 12 hours until Trudeau did what he did in the House of Commons.
Yep.
With that Ukrainian Nazi. And of course, also, you know, Maxime Bernier and a few others posted up photos of like, literally, there's one photo, I'm going to have to go find it again here, where Maxime Bernier posted up photos of the trans flag with the hammer and sickle on it. Now, the communists killed more people in the 20th century than the Nazis did.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the communists, right? So it's like, so yeah. There was a couple attempts to generate incidents. There was a couple of bloody noses and whatever, but it didn't get too bad this time, right? But I mean, the word has been sent out, right? Leave the fucking kids. I can guarantee you, this is also happening in the U.S. as well. They're probably going to have something very similar happen down in the U.S. Like, you know, if you're at the point where you're, like I said, when you're at the point where you're trying to sneak this stuff in clandestinely, and you're at the point where you're having parents burst into the school because they conveniently forgot to tell the parent that there was going to be a transgender reading to their kids that day, and the parent got pissed off, right? And they have to physically haul the parent out of the school, right? Like, you're at the point now where it's like, it doesn't matter what the state does. And yeah, okay, yeah, there are kids that are maybe struggling with their sexuality when they're in high school. Sorry, you're not a legal adult yet. We'll give you emotional support resources. We'll maybe have a gay and lesbian club in the school. You know, maybe have a gay and lesbian club for high school students in the community somewhere that you can go join, you know, to give you information on this. But yeah, you know, I'm not even a parent, right? And thank fucking God I'm not, because I mean, if I found out somebody I mean, first of all, I'd probably be homeschooling anyway now. But if I was a parent, and thankfully I'm not, but I get what the parents are going to do. It's like, you know, oh yeah, and not to mention the fact that they're trying to put legal restrictions on homeschooling too, by the way, in some states.
Not surprising.
You know, it's like, you know, you're being so what happens with an individual that is on a personal level? You're dealing with an individual who keeps coming for your kid. It keeps coming for your kids. It keeps coming for your kids. And you keep telling the person to leave your kid alone. And they won't leave a kid alone. And they're saying, oh, well, you're just homophobic. And you're trying to, and it's like, you know, like when you break it down to the personal level, oh, well, you're just being homophobic. You're just trying to take my rights away. I'm not trying to take your rights away. I'm trying to protect my fucking kids. Now leave my kid alone, right? Like at some point, guns and weapons are going to get pulled because that's what some parents are like, you know? And it's not going to get any better. It's only going to get worse.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to reach the point. I mean, this march should have been a clear shot across the bow for this crowd. Leave my fucking kid alone. Nope. So it's going to go to the next level. We know what's going to happen. Of course, the media is going to try and play it out. The only thing is, though, and we've talked about this earlier tonight, it's not going to matter what the media says because the alt media will countermand anything that they're saying. And the alt and like I said on the last show, right? Oh, is the writer's strike? I think the writer's strike is 334. Let me just take a look again.
Well, that one's just been set. Oh my God, what a mess that's turned into. Well,
was that
actually,
was that 334?
Could be.
Yeah, 334. We'll be talking about that. But I mean, yeah, when we talk about it on Wednesday, right? I mean, yeah, they settled, but then they immediately chopped half the production. So there's a big, huge, wide open gap, which is going to be filled by independents, alt entertainment, and alt media. So yeah, they just created an opening for this group, which is, by the way, why I've decided I'm going to start ramping things up a little bit more. And you know, and they do this, so they're not gonna be. So if they try to use tactics, like it might work in some blue states, right? Might work in BC, might work in Vancouver, might work in the Metro Toronto area or whatever. But I mean, even there, right? Like, yeah, like when somebody starts screaming at you, leave my fucking kid alone. Like, you leave the kid alone. You don't look at them and go, oh, well, you're just trying to wipe me out. That's why you won't let me have access to your kids. That's literally what their response is. Right? And it's like, no, but if you keep coming for your kid, I might just identify. They don't care whether you follow my daughter into a fucking bathroom and tell her that you identify as a woman. What I'm going to do is I'm going to identify as the tooth fairy and smash your fucking teeth out and take your teeth because I identify as the tooth fairy.
I identify as Muhammad Ali. There we go.
I identify as a thuggish brute or the tooth fairy, and I'm going to extract your teeth from your mouth by identifying as the tooth fairy and punching your teeth out of your mouth. How's that for an identification?
Oh
my God.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is not going to end well, and the mainstream media is not going to be able to run block. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you so we can take this damn show out.
I also regret not being able to go because I believe it was during the week, and of course it'd be just at the right time when I have to work. And I'm not taking a day off for that as much as I want to, because I can't. I don't have any personal days off to do so. But as I said, I do believe that they have reorganized another march. I have to look into this. I believe it's going to be the 21st of October. So if you do find it, let me know, my friend. And if it is on the weekend, I am going to make a point to go. Now, of course, this is going to be lost on my other half because I don't think she's going to see that this is basically it's a problem. I've been talking about pedophilia and Sound of Freedom and fucking everything else. I think it's starting to get through, but it's going to take a lot. I mean, she's the atypical parent that, and I have not seen any change in my son's behavior. So at this point right now, I'm not worried about him. And she won't act on anything until we know that there actually is an issue. At which point, oh, I feel sorry for the person that's going to tick her off. I really do. But,
oh, the mama bear won't be happy?
Mama bear.
Shocker. Please don't. Oh, please don't piss off the mama bear. Oh, that never works.
It won't end well for whoever does that. Now, I remember hearing about about a father that caught a younger family friend right in the middle of molesting his kid. And the guy was beaten to a pulp. Like, he has swollen eye sockets, cheeks. The call to 911 to get him taken. He's like, he's gonna have to go to the hospital. Why? Because I caught him fucking my son. I've beaten him. You need to send a medic. He's got to go to the hospital because the father reacted, and the police officer that was on camera about this incident, he basically said indirectly, is like, we're not going to do anything on this one because that's what most parents would do. Is you go in and you touched my kid like that. It won't be so much the mother bear. Like, don't get me wrong. A mother that's going to defend her kid like that, I would be much more worried about the father. I mean, there was that one guy that was in court. He asked the judge, I want 5 minutes with this guy that molested my kid. No, I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that. Okay, 2 minutes, 1 minute. And then he made the attempt to go after him physically.
There was another case where they were flying a guy from one state to another,
mm-hmm.
and this guy had repeatedly raped this one kid, and the dad waited for the guy at the airport, and when they were taking him through the airport to the police car, the guy like walked up behind him and shot him in the head.
Don't blame him. I don't blame him at all.
And I mean, yeah, he did go to jail because that's premeditated murder, obviously. But the reason for it, and this is what's going to happen, right? They might even be trying to do this on purpose. Is that you're going to get to the point where it's like, oh well, we have to protect the gays, therefore we're going to have to put this in. We're going to have armed guards at school, and I'm like, are you out of your fucking tree, right? Like,
well, then what you're going to have, then what the school board's going to have to do is they're going to have to separate off a school or multiple schools for the gay kids. I think that would be the best overall option, because it's not an answer, it's not a solution, but I could see them no, they'll fight that back. It's like, well, that's gonna be segregation. I was like, well, you know what? Your kid's gay. I don't give a shit. I really don't care.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing too. It's not just this. It's also CRT, right? There was a teacher in Texas that got fired for doing this. We covered this.
Oh,
and this teacher had been multiple complaints about probably about this specific teacher at the school, and the principal did nothing, right?
Yep.
And there's even one more beyond that. What about the misandric teachers that hate boys for being boys? Apparently, there are multiple female teachers in the school that consider boys to be fucking toxic, right? And you got to also deal with them as well. So the whole education system is like broken, and it's not just at the elementary school level. It's like everywhere, and it's like,
or you've got the female high school teachers that are doing their best to get fucked by the students, the male students.
You've got that as well. I mean, everybody it's.
I can't wait. I cannot wait for the current paradigms that we're seeing here that shouldn't be around. I'm waiting for them to be exposed, and then there'll be a fight there will be a fight at the school board level, at the teachers level, the unions. That'll go to the legislators, and then this is going to be a long, protracted psyop.
Pretty much.
Better way to say it. The one thing about this march is that it was organized by a Muslim in Canada here.
And Trudeau started speaking out against the Muslims, the very people that he had been championing for years. Here's the thing about this, right? Like, he was bringing these people in to undermine Canadian society.
Oh yeah,
and they've just turned on him because, surprise, surprise, Muslims don't like their kids being fucking diddled either.
Well, it depends on which one. It depends on which sex, because there is the perverted notion of, well, Muhammad was with his cousin and she was underage and blah, 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 blah. So I can do that too. But that would be for more fundamental Muslim followers. If this guy is much more moderate, and I don't know anything about him actually now that I think about it, so I can't say, but if he's more moderate in the sense of being more modern like you and I are, and it comes down to just like, well, I don't really care too much about, like if he's got a couple of girls and if he's concerned about them being molested or trafficked or whatever, then yeah, I'm fully behind this guy. So for me, there's still some things that I should take a look at. As I said, I am in principle fully behind it, and if his background checks out, that I feel that this is not some political ploy, but rather he's being genuine, then yeah, I will be fully behind this, and I will make sure to make myself available so that way I can go. I mean, shit. At City Hall, across from the library downtown here, there seem to be some swirls on the city. There's a daycare center at City Hall, and those swirls are known for being highly likely a softer version of the triangle, shall we say. And you know which one I'm talking about.
You'll have to show me when I go down to Calgary next time.
Yeah.
Which might actually be very, very, very soon, by the way.
Well, make a point to be... When you... Okay, we'll talk about that after. We'll talk about that after. But I mean, these kind of swirls you would see on one of the couches or one of the pieces of furniture on Full House. And again, Bob Saget raped and killed a 14-year-old girl or something like that. I can't remember what it was at that roast that he had. And pedophilia in Hollywood is one of those open secrets.
Yep. Well, yeah, there was the rather suspicious death of Bob Saget, too.
That too. So, I mean, the guy's not around anymore, so whatever.
Well, I mean, there was like, well, I mean, again, right, with Saget, right, the way, this rather suspicious way that he died, right? I mean, you can't rule out the fact that maybe somebody finally fucking got to him, right?
My feeling about the man is that he was absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. And his image on Full House was the most ironic thing to what he probably is or was as a person.
The Olsen twins had some really weird shit happen around them.
Oh,
You
no
know,
doubt.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was Matt Walsh, because I mean, I had to do, so I'm going to have to probably do a takedown of Matt Walsh's article, opinion piece on op-ed on the video on the Manosphere.
Yeah.
He also did another video, and he pointed out the fact that, I mean, everybody's jumping over on Tim Ballard for the accusations he's facing, but then he brought up some old audio footage of Howard Stern obsessing about the Olsen twins. Like creepily so. Like, I can't wait till she turns 18, stuff, etc., etc. And again, right, that's kind of like a bit of a running joke, but still, right? I mean, they're looking the other way. They removed all of that content a few years ago because they realized it might get Howard Stern in trouble. People still have it, but I mean, it's like it got removed.
Yeah, and for it to circulate, it's going to take more work to have to go to a place like Rumble and hopefully somebody will be able to find it. Well, with Saget's roast, one of the jokes came down to, well, what's the difference between the two girls? Well, one spits, the other swallows. And it's like, oh my God, really?
Well, there's been something off. The way those two just like almost like they never got, like, I mean, yeah, okay, one of them got engaged to a former president, but like ultimately neither one of them ever had kids. They lived together. Neither one of them ever really got married. Neither one of them ever, they always seem to have difficulty with their relationships. Again, right, there's multiple reasons why that could happen. But I mean, statistically, for both of them to be that way is, because the younger Olsen sister, Elizabeth, seems to be doing just fine, right? Probably because the parents kind of saw what was happening with Mary-Kate and Ashley, and probably made a much more consistent effort to shield Elizabeth from the issue, because Elizabeth seems to be a much more well-adjusted, more well-adjusted than the two Olsen, her older siblings.
Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, she is an actress, and actors are liars.
Thank you. I'm glad you consider me a liar.
Fuck you too. Anyway,
well, we're getting close to 3 hours here, so we need to
I was just going to say we got to wrap this up here. So, I want to find out more about the guy that's organizing this. I want to know more of, if I can, to find out who and what he is, and basically kind of go from there. Not that I don't like the idea, I do, but my concern comes down to it being as how well adjusted and integrated into Canadian society is he really? So, I don't know.
Well, Arab Muslims, the Muslim parents don't like their kids being diddled either. Hey, that's not a reach.
Okay, and I fully expect that, but does he have any sort of ulterior motive? Is my concern.
Possible. It'll get exposed with time. And anyway, we are 42 seconds away from hitting the 3-hour mark here. So
I'm done.
I'm gonna wrap this up. Didn't expect it to go 3 hours, but I mean, I added this other topic because it needed to be added, and I totally forgot. So yeah, topic 7 million person march occurs with great results. Those of you who don't know, I am at Patreon as Naroki5. Subscribe to us, the Red Pill Nation. And I'm going to go over 3 hours here. BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Brighteon, MGTOW TV. I have a YouTube channel. It'll be down below in the low bar. Facebook, Gab, Minds, MeWe, Getter, communities.win. And that is it for now. And at some point, I will add Spotify and so on and so forth. But for now, that is it for tonight. Thank you very much for sticking around for the whole 3 hours. We kind of wandered a little bit, but not too badly. But we will be back on Wednesday.